This welterweight division is on fire, and we've been watching the changing of the guard happen in real time over the last 6 months. Sean Brady beats Leon Edwards, Della Maddalena beats Belal Muhammad, Michael Morales over Gilbert Burns. God damn. And there was one man standing. His name was Kamaru Usman. He was facing off with Joaquin Buckley on a 3-fight skid and a pretty sizable underdog. And the Nigerian Nightmare said, not yet. I still got a little left in the tank. Turns back the clock on Joaquin Buckley in a pretty dominant performance.
I have been and always will be the boogeyman.
That was phase one. Phase one was the change in the guards. We're now entering phase two. Islam Makhachev has entered the division. He's going to be taking on Della Maddalena. That is the only fight, although it doesn't have a date. That's the only fight confirmed up to this point. The next 8 in line, these guys are going to start having to take each other out to solidify themselves as the true #1 contender because there's a lot of options. It's a great place to be in the welterweight division. And the Young Bucks, god damn the Young Bucks. Your champion right now, Della Maddalena, is 28 years old. Garry, 27. Michael Morales, just 25. Sean Brady's the old man of the group at 32. Shavkat Rakhmonov, 30 as well. The Young Bucks are rising in this division. We do still have Kamaru Usman coming off that big win at 38. Interesting stuff. So we're going to parse through the call-outs, the shit talk. The welterweight division is at each other's necks, and it's all to set up that next big fight. Islam fucking Makhachev, welcome to the division, my friend. There is a killer's row behind you, and this is as exciting of a division as we've ever seen. Let's start with who's been calling out who and what they've said. Take it back to UFC Atlanta. Kamaru Usman just gets over Joaquin Buckley. He's in the post-fight press conference. He gets asked about Belal Muhammad.
Belal Muhammad quickly tweeted, "See you soon. I know your eyes are on a title fight, but if the UFC comes to you, that's also a pretty big fight. Former champ for former champ. A lot of backstory. Is that something you would entertain if the UFC, came to you about it?"
Who is it?
Belal Muhammad.
Who's it?
Former welterweight champion Belal Muhammad.
Next.
Now, I didn't know this, but apparently Belal Muhammad had been on Kamaru Usman's podcast with Henry Cejudo, Pound for Pound, and it didn't go well.
A lot of people have been saying, drop the Belal interview.
The interview didn't go as planned. It wasn't that great of an interview anyways. It wasn't even that long.
I heard on that episode, Belal Muhammad and Kamaru Usman went back and forth to the point that they got into each other's face. Punches were thrown.
Oh wait,
you guys got into a street fight.
This is in person?
In person.
The Pound for Pound podcast sucks. Like I said, I was on there. Usman was terrible at talking. He was terrible at fighting. He got embarrassed a little bit on both ends.
Now, this fight's interesting because if I'm Belal Muhammad, I would not be pushing for this. I would be pushing for Shavkat Rakhmonov, the hardest test you can get to get yourself back to that title. I think from the UFC's perspective, they don't really want to give him another one. He had to take the long road in. I think he's got to take the long road back. And if he beats Kamaru Usman, you beat a 38-year-old guy that was on a 3-fight losing streak. He did just have a fantastic performance against Belal, but I don't know if it puts him next up with the young guys that are sitting there. From Kamaru Usman's angle, I think it's all upside. He's got to take another fight. He's not going to get the title shot. I know he wants it. All the guys that have won recently have called for that title shot. You're going to have to fight. I think the upside's on Kamaru Usman's side. On the same hand, I don't think the UFC is overwhelmingly excited to get him back into the title picture either at 38 years old. But you get a win over Belal Muhammad, the #1 contender right now. After beating Joaquin Buckley, the case is made. But then we got Garry, who in classic fashion is always talking shit. Recently posted this video talking about Belal.
I am going to box the ears off you because I'm the best in this division, hands down. Belal, learn from your last loss and never, ever, ever try and stand and bang with me. I
think the fight that people want to see is Sean Brady. He's gone at him too.
Would Sean Brady be somebody you'd be interested in fighting in the future? And overall, just what do you think of his performance?
I think that's a performance he should be very proud of, but if he ever steps into the octagon with me, I'll knee him in the face and I'll reconstruct his nose.
He also tweeted Sean Brady apparently saying, "I'm avoiding him by calling out Belal. I'm calling out Belal because he's a former champ that is currently ranked #1 and KO'd you. But if you want it, I'm in. I've never said no to anyone and everyone knows that." This feels like the fight, right? Sean Brady, Garry both only have one loss on their resume. Young contenders that have been flying high as of recently. And Sean Brady already seems to be preparing.
A lot of, there was already speculation. There's been a little bit of back and forth. Today I see you going with a lot of long, linky bodies.
Could be preparing for something. Listen, me and Ian, it's the fight to make. He was talking about it the other day. I think it's going to happen. So, Ian, if they send the contract, let's do it.
Obviously, no deal signed. but he's getting ready as if it is. Interesting stylistic matchup. Of course, we saw Ian Garry versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. We saw evolution of his wrestling game, his jiu-jitsu that he's learned from spending time down at Shoot to Box with Charles Oliveira. At least me, I'm starting to believe that Ian Garry is developing some skills that make him a problem on the ground. Now, is he better than Sean Brady? Fuck no. But can he neutralize Sean Brady and then just be so much bigger? I mean, he's much bigger. That he can piece him on the feet? There's a chance there. Stylistically, a super interesting matchup. So that knocks out those two. I've got Kamaru Usman taking on Belal Muhammad. I've got Ian Garry taking on Sean Brady. That leaves us Shavkat, which is in an interesting position because he's been out for so long. I think for a long time, we were just saying, okay, Shavkat's going to be next. Shavkat's next. But at this point, I feel like he's been out too long, and it leaves him in an interesting position because he's not much of a talker. And these guys have been jawing at each other, creating their own next fight. So we look down the list. I could see a Shavkat Sean Brady. Obviously, he already fought Ian Garry. I don't expect that one to be made. I could also see a Shavkat Belal Muhammad. Potential there, but I just like those other two fights better. That leaves you Leon Edwards, who I don't think makes any sense, or Michael Morales. Big step up for Michael Morales, but fuck, that would be a crazy fight. Both undefeated. Shavkat Rakhmonov 19-0, Michael Morales 18-0, and finishers. Heavy hitters, these boys. And the way that Michael Morales took out Gilbert Burns, I know Gilbert Burns is not Shavkat Rakhmonov. I know it's a scarier test, a much bigger guy. But fuck, he looked good. Fuck, he looked good. I think that fight would be incredible. A war while it lasted. Somebody's getting finished, right? That leaves you Leon Edwards. He's currently sitting at number 4 right now. I think the Joaquin Buckley fight makes sense. Leon coming off of 2 losses. Joaquin Buckley coming off of that loss. Most likely going to be a striking battle. Obviously, we've seen Joaquin mix it up, but primarily does it on the feet. First of all, it gets one of them headed back into the right direction. Either Leon Edwards picks up a win, he's right back in the mix, or Joaquin Buckley kind of settles the score on the change in the guard and finally gets over that former champion, that old guard that's still sitting at the top of this division. So those are my matchups. Jack Della Maddalena taking on Islam Makhachev. Obviously, that one's set in stone. Sean Brady, Ian Garry, Kamaru Usman, Belal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Michael Morales, Joaquin Buckley, Leon Edwards. I love it. This division is so hot right now. Through the remainder of 2025 into 2026, I think there's going to be a lot of turnover. And we got some old heads still sitting at the top. But there may just be a new king in town. His name is Islam Makhachev. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm loving this welterweight division right now. Tell me what you think.